Awareness will eventually touch your dark side. Posted on November 2nd, 2011. As I mentioned in the post, the descent of awareness in you. The movement of awareness is always all-encompassing. It does not deny or avoid or conveniently ignore any aspect in your human and physical consciousness. Rather, it moves constantly towards touching all aspects, be it dark or light within you, and it brings a wisdom and alignment into every aspect that it touches. As a human being, we are deeply happy when our awareness brings clarity towards our positive nature. We naturally bask in these insights and feel appreciation for our being. But it's not long before the same awareness starts moving into the dark areas of our mind. Here's when a lot of people panic and try to resist the movement, because now the light of awareness is bringing into your consciousness aspects of you or aspects of the human consciousness that you are part of that you would rather stay in denial of. Here's where the true test of authenticity comes forth, because it will reveal if you are rooting for a pleasure-oriented spirituality or truth-oriented spirituality. The paradox is that when you align with the truth-oriented approach, allowing awareness to touch the dark areas, it eventually aligns you with joy. But if you are stuck in a pleasure-oriented spirituality, you would just be a feel-good junkie who is in constant denial of the dark patterns within, no different from a cocaine addict, thus not allowing any real growth or maturity to come through. Inheriting the dark of human consciousness. You are part of this human consciousness. Your birth has been a culmination of several past human births, and in a simple sense, you are connected to the collective humanity, human consciousness, and thus connected to all aspects in it. Your human mind is not disconnected from the entire human consciousness. It's not an independent entity swimming around alone in this consciousness. In truth, your mind is intimately connected to the entire human consciousness and beyond it to the universal consciousness that you are. You are everything, not a separate human unit hanging on your own. So all the darkness that you see around you in the human consciousness is also an aspect in you, and the more awareness that grows within you, the more intimate you become with all the aspects of human consciousness at the place where it's standing now in your own mind. Your being born in this human consciousness gives you a total inheritance of all its present aspects, including the dark. The immediate tendency of the human mind is to avoid the dark and want to bask in the light, but the very tendency of the light is to touch the dark and thus dissolve it through its very presence. The light of your wholeness does not touch the dark with the intention to kill it or get rid of it. Rather, it does so by its very nature of love, embracing without fear, and it's this unconditional embrace of light that finally dissolves the darkness. The mind always meets the dark from a place of fear or hatred and a hostile attitude, while awareness meets the dark in a sense of embrace, almost an innocent curiosity, and its inherent wisdom becomes the catalyst that finally dissolves the dark patterns and allows an influx of well-being. It's one thing to bask in the knowledge that everything is one, but it's a totally different experience when you sense that this one also includes the darkness present in the human consciousness, including you. The beauty is that your wholeness is not afraid of touching the dark patterns, but finds the joy in doing so because it does not see any separation. It's only the mind with its chronic judgment that stays in resistance of really allowing an embrace of the dark by this awareness. The experience of seeing the dark patterns within. It's not very pleasant when awareness touches upon all the dark patterns in you, all your hang-ups, anxieties, phobias, conflicts, rigid beliefs, false perceptions, insecurities, resentments, pretenses, and masks comes to the forth, sometimes leaving you feeling terrified or suffocated of all the dark patterns in your inner space. It's quite a jolt when the bliss of basking in the positive nature is suddenly infiltrated with the reality of facing the dark patterns in you. However, this movement cannot be avoided, and the more you stand in resistance to it, the more stuck and stagnant you feel in your life. The more relaxed you are, the easier, less intense, and faster this movement is. The very message of this post is to tell you that this is a positive movement and give you an understanding of the details of this movement so that you can feel more relaxed in it and not feel so confused by this inner process. The common hang-ups people have are mostly relating to their self-image, sexuality, materialism, religion, orthodox beliefs, relationships, security, and various personal desires. All these hang-ups are brought into the light of awareness unrelentingly, and it's no longer about holding on to convenient beliefs and mindsets, but rather about merging with the holistic truth about all these aspects in your mind and around you. It's not possible to be a fully conscious person and a relatively hung-up person at the same time. It just doesn't work that way. The movement of awareness is the most brutal and unrelenting connection with truth you will ever encounter. If you've not experienced this powerful movement of awareness towards the darkness in you yet, you may not be able to fully make sense of what I'm saying here, but you will soon understand this when it starts happening within you. To the mind, it may seem as if it's a negative movement, that awareness would want to touch the dark patterns within, but in truth, it's a highly positive movement, because only through this movement can your inner conflicts be finally brought to rest, and thus a harmonious movement of life can unfold. Just because you are in denial of your dark patterns and conflicts doesn't mean that they will not attract a reality for you, because all your underlying vibrations contribute to the external reality that you attract.